Thank you, Indy. Can we give Indy a round of applause? This is beautiful. This is great, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It's really an honor. As Indy said, I'm up here with some giants, so that's why I had to wear these heels, if y'all wondering, just so I could be bigger than y'all. So I want this to be real family, y'all. You know, I made the joke about us clapping because that was a real long walk. I don't know if y'all knew how long that walk was. And then Councilwoman Tate and I had a meeting of the minds, literally, and we bumped heads up here, so hopefully we connected. You ready? Okay. All right, well, good evening again, y'all. On my side job, I'll be at the Stardo making jokes. You feel it? Okay. Dina's not laughing with me today.
Well, for some that know me, I'm very excited.
Yes, y'all got microphones. All right, so we're gonna get this going. That was a beautiful film, and it really inspired me. Every day I have to be reminded of why I do this work, and that's part of it. And so I'm really excited to talk to you all, and I hope y'all will talk to me and keep it real. That's usually what y'all always do every time we're up on these types of panels. So we'll just start it off. We have some really good questions, and I've broken them down because I want your insight from your professional and your personal roles, and I think these questions really cover that. So this is for everybody. And y'all, we in the South, but please don't do a Baptist open and close. So the first question is, how do you personally relate to the experiences shared by the justice-impacted individuals in the film? And were there any specific stories or moments that really resonated with you? I'm gonna start off with my lady right here, Councilwoman Tate.
Thank you, Shay. I can really resonate and relate to each one of those individuals, particularly the mom. At the age of 17, my son was arrested and charged with robbery 1 right here in the state of Alabama, and at 19 he entered into prison to serve a 20-year prison sentence. And so it was during that time I was in the healthcare field, and I always tell people this: we can plan our life or our path, but God unplans it. So my whole job, from being a nurse, going into criminal justice, getting hired with the Florida Department of Corrections as a probation and parole officer, so that led my journey. And being the first Black female to enter into our office in the Funiac Spring, Florida, people say, where's the Funiac? Most of you pass through Walton County, going to the beach, Destin, so you go through the Funiac to get to the beach. And so I was doing that journey. My son was sitting in Alabama prison, and I was supervising people that had committed the offense that he did, and they were on probation. And so I charged myself, do I make these people's life miserable, or do I, help them because I want somebody to extend the same opportunity to my son when he's released. So my circuit administrators, they saw the passion that I shared. Nobody in my office knew my son was incarcerated. And they saw the passion, so I became the reentry coordinator for the office. Then I became the liaison at the prison. Then I started teaching GED classes to those that we were locking up for just small, minor infractions when they broke a rule or broke one of their conditions on their supervision. So that sprung the advocate in me. Why are we doing, somebody that has a substance abuse problem, why are we not getting to the root? So I started doing a lot of deep diving into seeing who was I supervising, what did their PSI say? And then I learned that I was supervising generational families. So I can truly resonate with that young man's mom. I wanted to sleep. I gained a lot of weight. I'm just being very transparent with you guys. I cut a lot of people off, and I just really tuned in and just built my relationship, with God, and to become more spiritual in my walk, because I knew it was going to take prayer. Because my son was entering into a place where, it was people that probably committed very horrendous crimes that he did. So I can relate to everybody in there, and particularly the mom.
Thank you. Dina, same question.
Turning on and off, huh? That's awesome. I've been looking for a personal assistant. Hey everybody, good afternoon. So much resonated from the start. The chin, because I was a child in need of supervision. Never was asked what happened to me. You know, it was always you, the bad kid. You know, seeing that all those persons were young when they went inside the first institutional structure, how none of their challenges were addressed, how just a whole lot. So I don't know if it reignited some kind of trauma, because while I was sitting there, and I do this all the time, but here lately, just looking at some things, and it's like, wow, wow, wow. So quite a bit resonated with me. Yeah.
Thank you. Ronald, same question.
I guess like Dina from the beginning, one of the things that got me when they was telling their ages when they first got locked up. And it had me thinking about when I was first, the juvenile system, we call that still prison, being locked up. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. My grandmother got caught shoplifting at Atlantic Mills. And when they found me, they took me out there. She was in a paddy wagon. But I think I went to the juvenile system maybe 10 or 11 times. And that's ridiculous, because after a certain time, it seemed like somebody should have been there to like talk to me, to like put me on the right path, because I'm a dumb kid, you know. I like school. But I didn't go that much because a lot of officers was coming there, and they spoke about it in the movie. I saw more officers taking guys away in handcuffs, and me and my friends, we were like, hey, let's skip this place. And that's why we got in so much trouble. And then at the same time, you got to think about the family structure. I didn't have a father, nowhere around. Saw him a few times. My mother was an alcoholic. The only one that disciplined was my grandmother. And I don't know, them extension cords and belts and all of that just started being numb. And because I didn't get that support or attention or a chance to talk to somebody that can really relate to me and tell me, hey, this and that, I ended up getting sentenced to Alabama Boys Industrial School. And after that, I think I might have had, I don't know, maybe 5, 7, about 8 good years of freedom. And then I was sentenced to life without parole. And that just came from me just dealing with the wrong crowd, the wrong peer groups, and not having anybody in my life to really just set me down. My role models was hustlers and gamblers and all of that, because that's what I was around. And it's a number of things, but those are the two things that really resonate.
Wow, thank you. I think what y'all really shared, it really also showed a lot of trauma, and we're not really acknowledging that. And we're going to talk about that later, about the mental health piece, and so I really look forward to that. So Ron, I really want to come back to you. So now you are in a really significant role that helps people that have dealt with the life that you've dealt with, coming back into society. So in your role, what are the most significant systemic barriers that justice impacted individuals face these days, like during incarceration, upon reentry, and how can these specific barriers be addressed or even overcome?
Well, you gotta understand that people deal with a lot of trauma inside of prison, the isolation, the violence, and all of that. And when they come out, you know, you would hope they'll be together, but it's so much you have to deal with. But with my clients, I recognize that people are individuals. You can't just put all of these guys in one basket. Each one of them have dealt with their own things, and they have to be approached in different ways. Some of them will come out just want to do some everything, and some just want to get in a cubbyhole and just hide and isolate themselves like they did in prison. But one thing I can say for sure about these guys, most of the guys I deal with had life without parole. They've done 20, 30, 40 years. And to see them come out and just blossom like seeing a baby walk again, and that's because we've given them the right support. What I've noticed that we have a lot of people trying to help individuals, but a lot of these people that's trying to help them haven't lived their life, and they don't know how to approach, they don't know how to talk to them. And when you come out of prison, you've been beat down, so your self-worth from the officers. Every majority of the people on the staff is looking at you like you're nothing. And only happiness or education or whatever, you can find a group of guys that you have the same thing you want to do. And that's one of the things that kept me from going crazy in there. I got into classes. I started dealing with guys that were about education. The first, I don't know how it happened, but the first class I put in that kind of woke me up, UAB was having this lecture series where next thing I know, this guy, he said, man, I signed up this class. What class? And so I go in there, they reading Shakespeare and Dante and all that. And I'm like, what are these books? I'm gonna go back and refinish my Donald Goin book. You know, but just being around them and actually, and I'm this thing about you give me an assignment, I'm gonna do it, regardless of what it is. Even with poetry, I hate poetry, but if I'm in class with assignment, I'm gonna put my heart in it. But it opened my eyes, and I just started to realize these potentials that I have. And it's so, oh God, if you can meet these guys in prison, they got I mean, they are incredible, smart guys. Some can come out and just start a business, and I know a couple that have. But as for the stigma, healthcare, the violence, the same things in the prison, you come out here to deal with too. Because I have a client now that's scared to even come outside at night. Now they went to the daytime because he heard about so many shootings and all that. Our police doing this and that. And it has stagnated him from really just enjoying his life. You know, it's a place I want to take him, a jazz club, but he don't want to go out at night. And that's sad. And but most of our clients are doing well, but it's because the way when I first got out, it depends on who you're gonna go with. I was actually go to this program. I'm like, no, I ain't feeling them. But then I had the opportunity to talk to her, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all I want to go, because she could relate to me. These other people, they couldn't, and so she played a great part in me reentering, getting myself back together, and just doing things. Because she had me doing all kind of stuff. Yeah.
So it's really important what you said about dealing with folks with lived experiences, people that have dealt with this, so you're not feeling like you're being talked down to, but that you're talking to someone that relates to you, right? And so Dina, since you had Ronald out here doing all types of things, tell me something, in the space that you're in, how does community support, how important it is in the successful reintegration of justice impacted individuals, and what role can communities play in providing the resources, opportunity, and really what Ronald was speaking to, a sense of belonging?
Well, one of the things that I think community need to understand is that we're dealing with people. And if we want to speak the language of community and what concerns community is public safety. And if you do not invest in people, then you're not investing in public safety at all. The other thing is that what a person has been accused of is not who the person is. We know what it takes as individuals to live day to day, just to be able to maintain our basic creature comforts, food, shelter, and clothing. So we shouldn't expect anything less from the individuals that are returning to our communities. With that being said, jobs, you don't live for free. So neither will the individuals. Housing, you don't live up on a bridge, neither should the individuals. Education, we understand that higher your education, then the higher your income bracket, right? So the same opportunities that you would have afforded to you, I would think that for another human being, you would want the same thing. So in that regard, what we have been able to do over the past 10 years at OAA is sort of kind of like have been a quiet experiment that I have been dragging a good friend of mine. I'm not gonna call anybody's name for their autonomy, but I've been dragging her around for 10 years to show that with the right support, the right investment, seeing people as people the way that they saw me, we can really have success as it relates to individuals' transition. Ronald spoke about the importance or the vital role that I may have played in his life. I only played the role that someone had played in mine. Seeing me as a human being, seeing my struggles, taking the time that it really took to get me past so many different things that sometimes I was unaware of myself. Inviting me, because in the film there was a thing about belonging, inviting me into their home, taking me to places and exposing me to things that I never had been, understanding that I probably was a little bit awkward, but never allowing me to feel that way or have it any shame. Sort of kind of loosening the shackles that I brought out with me. The second prison is our society, the collateral consequences that come with it. Supporting me in getting a real job. My first job was at the firehouse shelter. My heart is always at the firehouse shelter. But if it wasn't for the firehouse shelter, unbeknown to me, I wouldn't have been able to eat, because that was a soup kitchen. I didn't know that. When I came home, I was making $7.25 an hour. That was 12 years ago. The inflation and the prices and the cost of living was as they are today, because gas was about $3.50. It took me 4 months to get driver's license, so someone took me back and forth to work. When I put gas in my truck for the first time, it was $60 a week. So I didn't understand, how do people live off of $280? Like, oh my God. So all of these crazy thoughts, but making it work, living in a transition house and not being able to have my children. After being gone for 10 years, that was a struggle. Still not wanting to celebrate birthdays, Christmas, and Thanksgiving as human beings do with people that they care about, because I still wasn't able to connect with my family once I came home for various reasons. And as I look at it now, a lot of it was socially and emotionally, because I was able to drive to my children. I was able to drive to my mom's and my cousin. I can remember asking my brother for $5 for gas because I was too ashamed to ask him for anything more. And then I didn't want to be a burden on him. So $5 in a Ford Explorer wasn't going to get you too far. So all of these things, and that individual was my mentor, first friend, and then became my best friend, but they were with me every day. They taught me how to email. It was like, send me an email every day. Just those kind of things that they intimately and intricately did, right? Prayed for me with another friend to get this job, took me to a place to be interviewed prior to me going into it, sitting with me to try to start writing again, which I still have writer's block, and I get this big panic from it, so that I can get my GED, because I was denied the right to an education inside, because quote unquote for the state I had enough time, because I was a long timer, they said. I had 114 years for a nonviolent crime, so anything afforded to anyone else wasn't afforded to me, because after all, I wasn't going home anytime soon. So all of these things. But if a person have access to the right pathways and the trust and the right support, then I think that they can be successful. So I do this intimately with other people. So me and him hung out for 5 months every day. And I wanted to create a system that he shouldn't have had to worry about paying $125 or $50 a week at a transition house when he couldn't get a job right away, or the anxieties that I feel by everything being so new after 3.5 decades. What do we do with that? How do we really support our persons and give them the grace that's needed to shed those shackles into freedom? So that's it.
I don't know what y'all right there, and now I call you Dr. D.
Yeah, doctor.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Y'all heard that right? I'll let her tell you, but Dr. D. Wow, that is an impactful story. So I want to shift over again about that support coming from family. So being the mother of a formerly incarcerated individual, how does family and really society play a supportive role with that reintegration? Like, how are you walking your son, who is still just as impacted, down every single day? And Dina mentioned, about just reintegrating not even just the society, but her family. So what can be done to really strengthen those family bonds and those support systems?
Well, incarceration is very hard on families. My son really came, from a good home, made a mistake. And so, again, families are traumatized. You couldn't talk to me about my son's incarceration because it was off the record. I wouldn't talk about it to people. But then, as I wandered and went on my journey, particularly getting a job as a PO and really pouring into people, because I had, a lot of people don't realize probation parole officers got a lot of power. A lot. They can make your life a living hell, or they can make it, walk you through your journey and But what I did, when people sat before me, I always viewed them as a person, as a human being. Never put them down, but, you got a job to do. You instruct people on the conditions of their supervision. But I often reminded people that I supervise is I see you as a human. I'm going to treat you with dignity. I'm going to treat you with respect. But this is a baby that you birthed. And if you want to get rid of it, then I'm here to walk with you to get rid of it. And so I always treated people in that manner because I wanted people to treat my son the same way. But family support and addressing your own traumas is so important. And so once I began to really start opening up and talking about it, and my healing began because I was able to freely speak on, like I'm doing now as a mom, and really put me on the path to really champion reentry. Like, what does reentry really look like? When people are released from prison. My son had a lot of support. My mom retired from the post office. I had government jobs, so he had support that some people don't have. He was able to come home. He never lost his driver's license because he had his driver's license when he went. I just kept him renewed while he was incarcerated. The struggles was there because he was dealing with a generational curse and some things that was happening on his father's side. Abuse with substance. And you just have to be transparent. Being a mom, my son was released from prison. Then he went back to prison on parole violations, no new crimes. And that was hard. But one thing that I learned on that journey, even in that journey, the third time he went back, because he went back, 3 times. I was living in Prattville. And I wouldn't even go see him. And I was mad. I wouldn't go see him. And then finally God released me to go see him. And so when I did go see him, he was struggling with some substance issues. And I was very, very upset because the correctional officer, when I went, they would be cheesing and smiling in your face. So you know how they're going. And so I just told the CEO of this particular Saturday, I said, well, if y'all really cared about individuals in here, I don't need you to tell me that something is going on with my son. I can clearly see what is going on with him. So it was times, that I had to intervene and, use the skill set that I had, to do the things that I needed to do to make sure that he was safe. But family support is super important. And Ron and Dina hit on some great things. I do not like reentry houses. Let me just be very clear. I don't like transitional facilities because we often see people that are exploiters. I'm just going to keep it 100 because people that have been incarcerated for a long period of time, all you see is dollar signs. Most of these people are starting these houses, they don't have a clue how to treat those that have been incarcerated. And you want people to go out and find a job and pay you $125 a week or whatever the going rate is, that's not right. So I like safe houses, as our good friend Susan Burton is like one of the top experts and she doesn't call them they are safe homes. And so when you get a chance, look up Susan Burton, you see these amazing incarcerated sisters a lot of them that I know, that are starting these safe homes. Beautiful homes, not getting hand-me-down stuff. These women are walking into nice facilities, nice homes that they feel dignified, they feel human when they walk into these places. So I am not a supporter of transitional homes, because as Ron said, people that are not closest to the problem are not your solution solvers. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, because if you're not an expert at reentry, and what we tend to see a lot is criminal justice and the criminal legal system has become sexy, right? And so people start driving cars into these lanes, and all of a sudden you become this subject matter expert when you don't have the subject matter expert experience. It becomes exploitation at its finest, and we have to be very careful of that. And making sure that people like my brother and sister and like my son are people that are not being exploited for people's personal gain. Because I am a gatekeeper when it comes to exploitation and really trying to use those that have been system and justice impacted. You will hear from me and I will let you know. But in reentry is the support is very, very, very strong. But you have to deal with your traumas, and family have to deal with traumas, and grandparents have to deal with traumas, and nieces and uncles have to deal with trauma, because some people, the collateral consequences that people face when they get out of prison. We say second chance, but did the individual ever have a first chance? That's what we gotta look at. Did they ever have a first chance? When all of these systemic issues, when I looked at that film and I saw President Clinton signed a 1994 crime bill. Interrupted families, snatched families, they've been snatching families for years. And so these are things that they have to be apologetic for now. So now we're dealing with a whole new monster, a whole new administration, saying that they're going to deport and do the things that they're doing. So, we just really have to, I'm not a fan of SROs in schools at all. Not at all. So when you get a chance, look up Dr. Monique Morris, The Push Out. And then you'll get a clear understanding of why you shouldn't have SROs in school, because that's trauma all by itself. All in itself. But family, reentry, the support is so much needed. I can appreciate what Reentry and India and people that I do nonprofit work with are really on the battlefield, really getting great policy in place when it comes to Pell Grants through Che. Sarita Steve Martin had a bill passed in Louisiana, because she was a formerly incarcerated woman who didn't check the box and now has master's degrees in medical technology. And when you get a chance, look up Operation Rescue Sarita in New Orleans. I'm lifting up a lot of people that I know that's doing this great work. Pamela Wynn, who sponsored the chaplain bill with Representative Rolanda Hollis, chaplain pregnant women. So I have a real passion when it comes to reentry and justice impacted individuals. I could talk about this all night.
One real quick thing on families, real quick. What a lot of people don't understand is that sometimes the family has to be trained on how to accept. People in prison, they've having these fantasies in their mind about how it's going to be when I get home, my sister, my brother, my mother, the cooking and all of that. But then once they get out, it's not that. And then they start feeling this resentment because they start thinking about, okay, but you weren't there when I was going through this. You didn't come visit me and all that. And that's why that the family needs to be prepared and how to properly deal with it when they come. And also, it's this thing where they used to have this fatherhood initiative. When we was at Doopy, I don't know, I think Kenyatta was with me then, I asked this question with these kids, it's about maybe 16, 17 in there. And I asked how many of them had a relative in prison. And then I asked how many had a father. 12 kids raised their hand. And so now I'm thinking like, man, now these fathers got to be prepared to come home to these kids. And then once they come home, a lot of them, not prepared for the resentment the kids feel, and they would just up and start cussing you out. I just experienced that with a client. She just went off when I explained to him, man, you hurt her, and she needs to let you need to shut your mouth and let her talk. That's right. And there's so many dynamics that need to be looked at to prepare a person to come out. And now also, while he's there, you know, it's so much that needs to be done.
Well, since you're speaking about when they're in there, Ronald, again, you're a reentry specialist, so you are dealing with clients every day and helping them rebuild their lives from that trauma. So yeah, a decision was made, and in this country, you're supposed to serve your time, and then when you serve your time, you come out serving more time, right? So how important with a lot of your clients is, you all mentioned a lot about education and what that looks like, and we saw in the film the Pell Grant situation and how the reinstatement post the crime bill, but how important is education or even just job training? Because everybody doesn't want to go to school. Some folks just need some real skills and training when it comes to helping those justice impacted people rebuild those lives. Like, how important it is in your role. So either education or job training or just soft skills. How important is that?
Within prison, you know, it's about the Bible be still, but you got people there where they're there, they can't move. You can't go this and this and that. So now it's the time to try to put that information into them. And you got some beautiful schools coming, jail for England. Hey, I'm from prison. I got what? Y'all forgive me. But they have they talk about it in the movie, trades. I might have been 2 months from getting a degree, but then they passed Pell Grant, kicked me out. But now when they started it back, I got some calls, talked to a few friends that, man, I'm in trade school. I'm like, well, I'm in trade. I mean, they're happy. And these are guys that got life without parole that may not be able to get out. But it's a thing where they just want something to do. And if you put it there, if you just bring these educational classes there. I was a tutor in 2 different prisons. And I know that if you was to just put this information before them and deliver it to them right, they want to know more. And that's what happened to me. I think I got my GED in the county jail for the winter prison. I think I was going back to court. But then once I got that GED, I just started taking classes because that was the best place in prison to meet the classroom. And that's where you meet some of the most interesting people, because we're in the hall and you're in the dorms, you know, you're busy mean mugging everybody. You can't, you know, it's mean mugging. But in the classroom, you get to express it from your mind. And I'd be so shocked. I don't know how many times I've said this, that people, if you're impressed with me, you should see some of the guys I left behind. I mean, seriously. This one guy, James Head, I just happened to be able to go to his parole board, and I was speaking at his parole board. He was granted. And this guy here I saw him I stayed in the jail finger program. This guy gave us a tour. This guy knew everything about the place. And I knew he was smart. And I had to go to the parole board and tell him, man, this is the guy needs standing by me, doing what I'm doing. But the opportunities are not coming. They need these opportunities. But job training is critical. And one of the things we get a client out, what I be eager about, I'd be excited, waiting for them to tell me what you want to do.
All right.
That's all I want to know.
Yep.
What you want to do. You want to do that? And then I realized that I make this connection with these different people. I can get you the source. I can get you that you want to do, but mainly what you want to do. But then I'm disappointed when some guys like, man, I don't want to do nothing. That's your right too, you know. But let me help you. We can do that more comfortably. You know, do nothing. But yeah, job training is needed, but also counseling inside prison and out. And another thing that I don't like, which was different, there's a lot of things going on out here to kind of help a person when he, get out. But there's so much that's not been doing in prison. Because why you got to wait to get out here to go get a birth certificate, driver's license, social security card? Why you got to wait to do that? Do it there. And now that's going to save so much time, because the first thing you have to do when the guy get out, I be trying to get his social security card, his family ID, and his birth certificate in one day. But sometimes that's impossible, because some guys one of my clients, he had a child molester's social security number the whole while he was in there.
Wow.
And it's just, and if they would have just took the time to check his record, you could have straightened that out. We would have had less problems. But we have learned in other organizations how to overstep certain things so we can get things done for guys. But now we have one client that we can't even give his social or birth certificate. He doesn't have, it doesn't exist. So I mean, it doesn't exist, it never was done. And those are the battles we have to go through. But we're finding solutions. We don't give up, and we do not turn our back on nobody.
You heard him, he said they don't give up nor turn their back on anybody, and that's probably the type of people that they needed on the front end, right? So y'all, we're closing out, but I want to ask one more question. Now, y'all are a wealth of knowledge, but I told y'all about the Baptist closings, okay? So we know we're in Alabama. We know that we have seen countless lawsuits. The DOJ is suing ADOT. We understand our parole rate last year, early in the year, was at 8%. Now I think we're at 26%. Oh, great. And there are people that don't believe that folks should come home. Although the criminal justice system actually was not initially, quote unquote, set up like that. It was set for people to come home, but really it wasn't, right? So real quick, give me about 60 seconds, if you will. You were mentioning some stuff, Ronald, but I'm gonna go this way, okay? Councilwoman Tate, what specific policy changes? You had a magic wand that you would believe would be necessary to improve this system. Give me 60 seconds, a policy change.
Parole reform.
Boom. All right, Dina, Dr. D.
Citizen reform.
They can't hear you.
You see that?
You saw?
That concludes the discussion.
That's called support.
That is what support
They gave her what she
is.
needed.
Absolutely right away. Sentencing reform. We know that we have adequate sentencing laws. We know that things are on the book that's been on the book before 1994. We understand how our criminal legal system was even started. So definitely sentencing reform. I was with someone a few months, last year I got a denial on my pardon. And my parole officer, prior to me applying for the pardon, and I got a good friend that's in this room that can attest to it, every time I would go in to report, she like, you applied for the pardon yet? And I was like, no. So she was changing jobs, because my mind was, I'm doing all right, I'm okay, I ain't gonna break the law no more, I don't care what they do. They ain't stopping me from doing, all these things. And she said, I tell you what, Dixon, if you come back in this office, because she was getting ready to change jobs, and haven't filled out that paperwork, I'm gonna lock your butt up. Well, we do know that who's not going back to jail. So I wrestled with it, and she actually helped me fill the paperwork out. Like, you hadn't filled it out yet. The next time I saw her, I was like, well, no, but I'm gonna get to it. She's like, just let's, and we did. We went through it and everything. So, she changed jobs. She called me one day, and it's ironic how the universe works. And she said, hey, how you been? And she was telling me about some things that was going on and in the church and stuff like that. And I said, well, I've been fine. And she said, have you, 60 seconds, have you, I'm getting better. Have you heard anything from your partner? I was like, well, no. She's like, you haven't? That's been a couple of years. So I called. She told me the number to call. I called and they said, well, no, it was rescinded or something because you didn't sign a piece of paper. What paper? A paper we sent to your home. Well, I've been living here for 10 years and, all other mail is coming. So we sent it. I had to go and sign the paper. Well, it took about a month and a half for them to send me a letter to say that I was denied. But I was never asked to come to my pardon hearing or anything like that. So it's those kind of things. We really have to look at this stuff in the face. We have to open ourselves up to be open-minded to what we know is the truth. We have to move past our comfortabilities, and we need to stand for what we know is right. I'm going to pass it to Ron.
I was incarcerated when that DOJ report came out, and we were reading it. One of the things it had on there, I mean, it did expose maybe 80% of the things that's really going on. But one of the things it had on it is that, I can't use that to sue them, because the things on there, it was suable. But what happened was that nothing's changed. Mm-hmm. Nothing changed. And now it's gotten even worse. Mm-hmm. And what we need is a group of people, just a different group of people, not not politics, just normal people to be able to go in these prisons unannounced and go in there and see what's going on. If the average nurse or psychiatrist, whoever, was to walk in there and just see how these people, these outpatients they call them, walking around this mental, I mean, it's like, that's what he's sending mental health at. And because they don't have nowhere else to send them.
Yep.
And that prison has become half nursing home, mental institution. And that's what it is. And to be honest with you, I've said this in the room before, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Prisons are now a modern day plantation. And they're treated like slaves. I mean, seriously treated like slaves. And that needs to change. And the only thing that's gonna change it is people on this side complaining, but we gotta, our wonderful governor, Kay Ivey, she wants to continue to do it the Alabama way. And the Alabama way is not good for black people.
Build more prisons. Build it out. So I want to thank these distinguished panelists for coming up here, sharing their stories. Y'all, they also shared their trauma with you all, so I want to really honor that. It's not easy to speak truth to power and be bold in it. I think if a lot more of us would do that, we have a little different society, right? A little honesty hour. So I want to thank you, Councilwoman Tate. Will y'all give her a round of applause? I want to thank Dr. Dana Dickinson for sharing her story. And the man holding it down up here with all these ladies, Ronald McKeithen. Thank you so much. The author, artist, yes, distinguished y'all. Y'all, thank you all for listening to this, and thank you for allowing us to hold space this evening. I'll turn it back over to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay there for a second. You can stay there. Yes, we won't put you out.